You're watching the Rebel Scum podcast.
You are always scum. Rebel Scum.
From odds making to list rankings, we've got you covered. And don't forget to join us on Patreon for early access and exclusive content. Here are your hosts, Brock and James.
Hi, James.
Hello.
Hi, Republic, James?
High Republic. Yes. Yes, of course. The High Republic. A dark time for the Sith. That's my Jedi Republic voice for the new Star Wars that's coming.
This is the Rebel Scum podcast. I'm Brock Mink. This is James Razile, and we are talking all things. Hi.
I'm switching to the Riverdale Sabrina the Teenage Witch podcast. We've done 150 of these Star Wars ones. Let's move over to what people want, and that is High Republic era Star Wars. Oh,
James,
yeah.
James, somewhat of a big rumor. I know we were going to talk about this. Am I skipping ahead too fast?
I don't know. It's 150. We can do whatever we want. I think we've earned the right. Yeah. We've earned the right to skip ahead.
50. Boom. 150 episodes for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, but we should start off. We're going to have a lot of fun today. A lot of stuff we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot with some guests. It's going to be a great time, so stick around. We should just tell people, like, it won't. They should stick around, is what we should say.
Don't change the channel.
Don't. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So exciting rumor going around that the next series might revolve around High Republic era, aka the Old Republic, as we used to call it. And then Rise of, as you can tell, I just woke up. Rise of Kylo Ren. There's mention of it as well.
Yeah.
James, what are your thoughts?
It was mentioned in something else as well, apparently.
Oh,
yes, I have not. I saw somebody tweet. I don't even know who it was. I don't know. Sorry, I can't remember. But somebody tweeted it was mentioned. Obviously, it's mentioned in Kylo Ren 2, The Rise of Kylo Ren. Is that what it's mentioned in that comic? But it was mentioned in something else recently as well. But I'm not sure what that was. So, but I trust the source on Twitter because all information there is legit. Okay. Well, I don't think High Republic's Old Republic. I think they're different. I think Old Republic is, because this is reportedly, this is Making Star Wars sending this out. And by the way, I have decided I will always believe Making Star Wars because of another rumor that they heard coming out about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I don't know if you've heard that, Brock. Maybe I'll save this conversation for a little bit later on because it is my favorite thing I've ever heard, ever. But I like if this is what they're doing and they're setting it up slowly, that's fine. And I've been watching the prequels a lot on the treadmill on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones is the best Star Wars movie ever made, and I'm actually being dead serious right now. It's the best one, and but watching a lot, and I love that era. Now, the High Republic, what I think was reported by Making Star Wars, if I'm not mistaken, is it will be a lot more Jedi centric, but it's going to feel a lot more like the used, worn in world of like the original trilogy, I guess, because that's what they're obsessed with, right? So I think. And also, they said that they're going to be it's going to be Jedi going to the unknown regions, I believe, which is kind of cool. And that definitely ties into more of what is happening in this Kylo Ren issue, too. I'm just curious, how far along in development are they on this new saga series that they can come up with all of this information? Because they haven't announced anybody yet. There's nobody on board. Nothing's happening. You know, Benny F. Weiss left. So I don't know. I don't want to be. I don't want to put all my eggs in this basket yet until they're like, oh no, it's definitely about this. Don't you worry.
I don't mind whatever they do with this. I just think, and I said to you, High Republic, and I'm like, why are we complicating this even more? Because it's like, I mean, I'm gonna try to stay positive on this. It's like, whatever. Like, if we get a new series that happens 400, 500, 1,000 years in the past from we used to say the Battle of Yavin, but also now it's apparently the Starkiller incident is now the center of the timeline. That's another interesting thing that dropped this week. But anyways, we'll stick on a topic. It doesn't matter to me, but I just like calling it High Republic. It's like it doesn't make sense to me. Now in Rise of Kylo Ren, it made sense, so that's where I stay positive. Because Lars Santeca is talking about it, and Lars Santeca is kind of an archaeologist. I mean, that makes sense. Because calling it High Republic, but then relating it to a movie, like that's confusing if that's what they're going to do throughout the marketing. And that's like, this is the High Republic age. And it's like, nobody's going to understand what that means outside of us. Like, I'm a fan, and I'm like, okay, just call it the Republic. That's what it is. I understand the Republic existed for a long period of time, but like, all you have to do, you don't have to make up a new term. You just say, this is 400 years in the future, the past of the Death Star or whatever.
I think the High Republic being it referred to that is probably more for us than anyone else. I think if they did High Republic and then Old Republic, I think in the comics and the novelizations, that's really what we would get. And in the movies, you would just be like, I think the aesthetic of it might change or something like that, or you'd get a sense of when it takes place. I think we're in this interesting time for Star Wars because up until now, Star Wars had always been about, Anakin and his family, right? Like the Skywalker saga, as they decided to call it, and it's been isolated in that, and now they're like, and now who knows what they're going on. There's rumors that a younger Yoda will appear. It's like, well, they're going to just keep milking Yoda until the end of time. So it's very curious on that front, like how they're going to sustain it in a way that keeps audiences engaged in what's going on. Because I know, and I know there's that argument, like everybody's like, I didn't want Rey to be a Palpatine. She should have been a nobody. Spoilers. She should have been a nobody. Which is fair, I guess, but what keeps your audience going is your core dynamic and your core group, and what is it about? And I think one of the things that makes the original trilogy so endearing to people and what makes them so invested in it is that, and I think this is why The Last Jedi, even in a lot of ways too, is what happens is Empire Strikes Back is the smallest scale of all of these movies. Like it's Luke is with a little green frog for 2 hours, and Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO are running around for 2 hours. There's not much going on. You don't really know what's going on with the rest of the galaxy. You cut to Vader, and he's like, "Well, let's find them," right? And then the Emperor's like, "You must get this out of Skywalker," but that like it's all small and condensed, and I just think when we're going into these High Republic, what is the point? What is going to keep us going back? Because it can't just be. I don't think for Star Wars it's just all out war, and I keep going back. Like Lord of the Rings isn't about, and it's about Frodo delivering the ring, right? It's all about that. I just think you got to keep it small. You got to keep. It's got to be big and epic, yada yada yada, but. You got to find those characters that are endearing enough for us to stick around with for, I know they're just doing individual movies right now, but that when one of them pops, they're going to make a sequel. So you got to find those characters that we want to keep going back to watch in events that mean something. And it doesn't always have to be the end of the galaxy, That's all.
Yeah, I mean, oh, man.
150 episodes later, our thoughts are Star Wars. Oh,
yeah, it's just like I hate when they incorporate a new term for something that's in the past. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just like if you give us a new series after it, and then it's like, here's a new thing, and like, okay, I understand that's a new thing. People are understand, but it's just like. It's like reading an expanded universe, and they don't use the word Sith because it wasn't figured out till the prequels. Like
No,
Like,
there are some expanded universe that use Sith from before the prequels. It's in, I think it's in actually, it's even in one of the I think the original Star Wars novelization. Sith. But I know what you mean.
yeah, but it's just sort of like, I think what bothers me is like, yes, making Star Wars gets a lot of information correct, but it's just like, I don't know. And then he just hears like, oh, it's gonna be about this, and I'm like it's just why, like
Well,
that's great.
It's the
Like we all kind of assumed that they would do that at some point because of the success of Knights of the Old Republic. Like there is an audience for it.
In fairness to making Star Wars on this one though, it's kind of like when, in sports when it's like, whoa, this player might have a broken pinky. It's got you got to be the first person to report on it, right? That's all.
I don't know. It's all for it. Like going back to it's like, yeah, we need characters, but like I don't know. It's hard to what to say about that because we don't know any plot line or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like I think Mandalorian shows us that like we can be given new characters and we're like, oh yeah, wow, and like we've barely been given any. There is I would say that you could be connected with some of the characters in Mandalorian, but like the amount of character building in that was kind of slow at first. So it's like, but don't get me wrong, I love Mandalorian. There's people at work that have been like, you gotta watch this show, and then they're like, they just finished the series, like, oh my gosh, you were right, that was awesome. I'm like, it was good. Like it was crazy how good it was. I was like, and that's like. I think I said this before, Mandalorian has gone against some of the formula of how we delivered some newer Star Wars stuff. So yeah, let's do it. Like let's like the High Republic part is like, but we'll warm up to I'll warm up to it at some point, I suppose. But that movie's when, if it is the next movie, 2022, correct? Right.
Well, maybe they haven't really announced what it is, but you'd have to assume, which you should never do at this point, that that's what it is. Making Star Wars dropped another bomb. Did you hear the other bomb that they dropped this week?
Not sure.
The one that I think it was Friday. The one that made me say, "Okay, I'll believe anything you say," and that is the Obi-Wan Kenobi series could have. I sent you this one. An old Jar Jar Binks. Old Jar Jar Binks. I don't know how that would work. I can't believe Ewan McGregor would agree to have old Jar Jar Binks back. But maybe he wants to work with Ahmed Best again. Who knows? Which would be really cool. I would like that. I think I told you in the text the other day that the one thing I always felt, and I love The Rise of Skywalker, but I kind of was hoping at the end, you see the Ewoks and that's great, but I was really kind of hoping for the shot of old Jar Jar on the streets of Naboo, which is where he's working now as a street performer, and he just kind of looks up at the stars, and maybe you don't see anything above him, but he looks up at the stars and just kind of has this smile in his eyes, like he knows, like this dark cloud that's been hovering over him for all this time is finally gone. And I know we get that in Return of the Jedi, but the Emperor's back, so it would be nice to have seen that for me in it. I don't know how he'll play out in an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. It is just a rumor, so I'm not, it's a grain of salt for sure. But if that happens, you know where I stand on that one.
Yeah, I think it would be great. I think there was mention of possibly Hayden Christensen as well. Like, those are all smart additions because it's like, yeah, maybe not their movies aren't the most like well loved, but like people like those movies and. Whatever, like just put it in because this is the only opportunity you'll possibly get, I suppose. I don't know how else you bring these characters back in outside of like, yo, look, there's Jar Jar, and then you walk away.
Oh, look, uses the Jar Jar Binks.
So it's like that's exciting. I like it a lot. I'm all for it. I mean, maybe it's Obi-Wan goes on a quick mission to Naboo or something like that, and he's like, I know a guy. And you get to meet Jar Jar again.
I wonder if he'd be a street performer like in the Aftermath book.
It'd be nice. I mean,
yeah, Well, no, this would take place before the Aftermath book, so he might not. He would still act. Oh, he would probably still be on. It could actually be really intriguing if he was still like a chancellor or something. You know, like if only if Amidala were here. This is a crisis. That's who I want back. What's that guy's name? This is a crisis. Bilbo. I like Sio Bibble. If Sio Bibble, if he could come back, it can only mean one thing: invasion. Let's go over. We had a super chat on a show recently from our good friend Heidi. Let's put that on the screen. Heidi, Patreon Heidi Fetter, executive producer Heidi Fetter, has a super chat for us on this 150th episode. What if the Palpatines are the descendants from the first Sith and the Skywalkers are descendants of the first Jedi, or vice versa, Brock, or vice versa?
I don't hate it. I think it's a little too on the nose, but I don't hate it, right? Like it's not like whoa, but I could get behind it. I mean, and then that's one thing that this High Republic movie could revolve around just a little bit.
Yeah.
Though I was reading something on Instagram where they're talking about how Palpatine says he is all the Sith because with the rule of two, because it relates it back to Darth Bane, who starts the rule of two, and it's like they have to vanquish each other, and then they absorb each other's power. So, like, in a sense, the Sith continue on, and they're sort of pointing out like Sith ghosts don't exist because they can't connect with the Force like Jedi do. So this is their form of that, even though in Clone Wars there's like a Darth Bane Sith guy or whatever. We get into a little like slippery slope when we start looking at it that way, but so that kind of says to me that perhaps it's not so much a family thing. Again, this is something I read on Instagram, and it doesn't mean anything. But in my head, that kind of makes sense. I feel like Palpatine just sort of an outlier that just figured out the way to make the system work, right? It's like, I think that's what made Palpatine more interesting when he was just Senator Palpatine. He's just a regular dude that has a really plan.
Yeah.
So like that Palpatine in comparison to the Palpatine of Rise of Skywalker, which is just like, I'm a half-dead villain. Like, I want to destroy the world. It's like, it's such a different, it's a dichotomy of character. It's like, but I mean, I'm not saying that in a way that criticizes the character, but it's just like the prequels, Palpatine is like, oh yeah, it's like he's pulling all the threads and stuff like that. Can you imagine getting the prequels first, and then you're like, wow.
If you get the prequels first, you have the revelation of Sidious being the bad guy, but then you have a different experience with I Am Your Father, so you don't get that shock. But what you get is you get your hero turning into the villain. Which I think is, and you know what, I think I've said this a few times, and I was dead on about dead serious about what I was saying. I love the prequels, and I actually really like Attack of the Clones. Everybody should give it another chance. But I think looking back, it's almost like I kind of always wish they did the Vader Anakin thing in a way where Vader coexisted with Anakin, and all you heard were these stories about this Jedi killer named Darth Vader going around, and that happens somewhere in the second movie. Like, but Anakin is still Anakin, and he's kind of got this, side persona going on where no one knows it's him. And then in the third movie, you realize that it's, oh my God, it's Anakin. He's the one that's behind all this. And a part of me always kind of hoped they would do that with Kylo and Ben Solo, in that, I still feel like, like I said, I thought he was going to turn earlier in the Rise of Skywalker. It's almost like, imagine if he turned halfway or at the end of Last Jedi. Imagine if he turns back. All of a sudden, like, everything has just changed drastically. The problem is your big bad is dead at the end of Last Jedi, so he can't turn. But it just, I always felt like those were, interesting to me, and just seeing those played out more. And I hope they deal more with good, like the good and evil is what these movies are about. Is really it. But to get back to Heidi's question, I think that's the thing, is the Sith they all kind of carry on. And I still think Palpatine was trying to be the last one of that. He always had his apprentices kill each other. So he could have a stronger apprentice. And maybe, that was somehow for his benefit, and maybe we'll find that out a little bit more. And maybe that's why he's not in the visual dictionary, which I ordered and is coming for Monday. So maybe that. Palpatine in the prequels are just watching in order. It's a completely different experience, and I don't know if let's say you have kids, Brock. Would you and you're like, we're going to experience Star Wars whether you like it or not. Would you have them watch it 1 through 9 or originals, prequels, sequels?
I don't know. That's the thing. It's sort of, it makes, if you watch it 1 to 9, it might affect how things happen to you in that movie. But if it's a kid, I think everything is wonderment. So it's
that's the thing.
You'd be like, whoa. I think I don't know. I really don't know. But I've always been interested in it, so yeah, I probably would. Like, maybe if I had 2, I was like, I'm gonna show it to one of them chronologically, and then I'm gonna show the other one in release date, and see what happens. Because you see those fun videos where there's the reveal. Kids watch Star Wars for the first time, and the reveal. But then also you can still get that effect because the kids are just like, wow. Because visually, the movie is just always visually appealing, in my opinion. Come at me.
I will.
Of what era of Star Wars you're talking about. I think it's always like, wow, look at that, that's cool. So, yeah. But then also going back to the Palpatine Skywalker lineage, which I would love to see. I think it would be great to just sort of find out where the Skywalker name comes from. But I think also, just to add to the Palpatine part, I know they go by different names, but I think after a point you might figure out that the Palpatine family is evil. So it's you know what I mean? It's not like a passing down. But also I'm very curious about the past of the Jedi and the Sith in comparison to what they set in Knights of the Old Republic, the video game, where it was, I wouldn't say it's different, but it's there's a lot, there's a different vibe to it, because there's still there's a lot of Sith, I guess. I think we need to move away from the rule of 2 thing, because it's we were always understanding that it's there's always 2, but then now we've gotten Rebels, we've gotten Clone Wars, and it's but there's also all these other side characters.
But I guess the Sith are the powerful one that the other Sith live within, I guess, right? That's what that's their trade-off. I don't know.
So it's just why not make it that they're just 2 warring sides? I think there is an interest in it. I think I said before with Dr. Aphra, they show a past Jedi and no, it's not even Sith yet. It's just Jedi fighting Jedi, and it's who's right, who's wrong, and it's you don't know because there's just no historical whatever. So I think that's an interesting part. Anyway,
I wonder if the High Republic, if we're going to get into any of that, and maybe it'll be the Jedi against 10 Jedi, let's say, versus 10 Sith, and then we get the rule of 2 towards the end of whatever this saga is, and that's what the saga leads up to. If it is a saga, because again, they're saying these are just going to be individual movies, not necessarily trilogies. So who knows? I'm with this announcement that's coming from Kathleen Kennedy, which she better not drop before this this podcast goes up. I'm really, really intrigued to hear what they say, because the last 2 of real value have been Rian Johnson's Star Wars Episode 8 is called The Last Jedi, and it is the next chapter in the Skywalker saga, which I got to point out, Aaron Quinton sent me a book from 2014, and was the title. Oh, no, I can't remember. I think it was either the title of the book or the subtitle of the book was the Skywalker saga. So Lucasfilm, to their credit, was getting that out there, and because they wanted you to know that story that they were telling was that specific saga. So to their credit, it was before we were all aware of it. But for me, the first time I ever saw it was that Last Jedi announcement, which I think was big. And they're like, The Last Jedi is kind of a huge title as well when you think about it. And then, of course, J.J. Abrams coming back to do 9. So I think whatever they're doing here, I believe that the next announcement from Lucasfilm that we get will probably be as big as we're doing Episode 7, because this is the next Star Wars thing. This is the most important Star Wars movie since A New Hope, in that if this thing fizzles out, what is Star Wars? Officially is a question. Like, is it just these Skywalkers? If nobody goes to see other characters, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see, because it's like, yeah, I think the future's bright. Because, man, Mandalorian is great.
But Mandalorian,
hey, by the way, I haven't mentioned I like Mandalorian.
But you don't have to leave your house to watch Mandalorian.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's the difference. Is, you know, would these people leave their house to go watch that in the theater?
I think it needs to be defined, though, because like, at what point are you gonna get tired of just like, then there's some Jedi and they swing their laser swords around and then the world is in jeopardy in some way. So it's like you need to quantify if that formula still works. You know what I mean?
That's one thing I was saying about I think I said this last week, but the Mandalorian is, they're half-hour episodes, and I think that is on purpose so that when the movies come out, you don't feel like, well, I can just stay home and watch a Star Wars movie. You can't. You're staying home and watching a 30-minute movie as opposed to it. I don't look. I'm optimistic for Star Wars. I'm just curious to see what people's reactions will be to, because right now, I mean, look, and I know all like the diehards are probably like, well, the EU, and that's fine, but the general movie-going public doesn't care about the EU, and for them, Star Wars has been, you know, Luke Skywalker centric. The whole time, it's always been about getting to Luke Skywalker, and then it's been about Luke Skywalker, and so I'm just, you know, I'm curious to see where it goes. I love Star Wars.
Yeah, me too.
Can't be worse. Do you want to go over to some odds?
Sure. Yeah.
Wait, hold up.
Oh, Andrew's here.
I knew I sensed the disturbance, of course.
You're damn right.
Oh God. All right, what brings you to us today? As Brock pointed out, wearing a plaid shirt, unlike usual.
Oh, that's right. Thank you for noticing, Brock. It brings out my eyes.
But Brock,
you also probably
he's not
noticed
dressed
I don't
like a movie theater manager today either, which is.
That's how I get my free tickets.
All right, Andrew.
I just hustle them.
What brings you around, Andrew?
Well, I have no voice today, but I know you guys are recording episode 150. It's kind of a big deal. So I wanted to come crash your party and ask you for another challenge, because I always fail your challenges. So it's a milestone episode. We should have a milestone challenge. Back it up.
All right, the challenge. 66, Order 66 is a huge part of it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 66.
The answer is episode 3.
Yes, you got it. 66 Jedi in 66 seconds. Do you think you have what it takes?
Name 66 Jedi.
Can you name 66 Jedi in 66 seconds?
If my vocal cords cooperate, maybe.
What's the caveat? Only movie Jedi or just Jedi?
Jedi in general. Jedi in general. Are there 66 movie Jedi?
That is a good question.
At Geonosis, there's a lot.
Let's figure that out.
But no, it'd be 66 Jedi. Ben Solo does not qualify. So you cannot say Ben Solo as a Jedi because I don't think he completed his training, and I don't think Anakin did either. So I don't think you can have Anakin. I'm just joking. You could say those.
Man, that does raise a lot of good questions.
All right, Andrew, this is our 150th episode. I thought naming 150 Jedi 150 seconds was a little much, so we'll do 66. Brock, you're going to take notes to just make sure that you got the counting correct. I will time it. Here we go, Andrew. 66 Jedi in 66 seconds, starting in 3, 2, go.
Luke, Leia, Rey, Ben, Kanan Jarrus, Ezra Bridger, Yoda, Anakin, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, Depa Billaba, Adi Gallia, Saisi Tin, Plo Koon, Eeth Koth, Mace Windu. Let's see here. Oppo Rancisis, Evan Peel, Yaddle, Yariel Poof. There's more. There's got to be more.
Yeah, there should be.
All 11 Inquisitors.
They're not Jedi.
Those 6 kids who trained and got their Kyber crystals.
Quinlan Voss.
Quinlan Voss was definitely one. Count Dooku before he turned to the dark side. Let's see here. There's got to be more.
Well, you got time.
The guy that Darth Vader killed in issue 12 of the comic, Jocasta Nu, Kit Fisto, Luminar Unduli, Barriss Offee. I don't know how many I have left. Oh boy. All right.
Rey?
Let's see. I already said Rey.
Ahsoka?
Ahsoka. Thank you. Ahsoka Tano. She's kind of a big deal. Hi, Ahsoka.
You're
Sorry.
over time. I'm sorry. Brock, how many did he get?
Okay, well, I counted when he said that guy.
Yeah.
Because I knew what you were talking about.
Sure, we'll give him that
Just
guy.
let me count it.
We'll give him that guy.
The guy that Vader
I
kills
hope
in
this
issue-
story group catches wind of this, and in the next visual dictionary, one of the characters is T apostrophe hat guy, but guy spelled weird. That's someone's new character.
Hold on, I'm still counting.
Andrew, how do you feel you did?
31.
That's not
I
bad.
think you're... Because I didn't... Here, saying 11 Inquisitors and then 6 kids. I wasn't going to do that because I'll accept it, but I wasn't going to
I don't know if Inquisitors are Jedi, though.
They used to be.
Okay,
They're Sentinels, Jedi Sentinels. I was just reading that.
sure.
5, so 25, 27 actual names plus 11. That's 38, right? And then 6, 44. 44.
Wow. Wow.
If I was counting, that's not bad.
I'll take it.
I like that you weren't like you could have just. When did you know that you had to do this, Andrew? Because I feel like we've been talking about this for at least a week.
I think it's been about a
You're
week.
spoiling.
So you could have easily
just wrote them.
just looked up 66 names, written them down, and read them out loud.
Wait, we didn't just make this up today?
Maybe not.
This is so strange. All right, this has been fun. Andrew, go drink some tea, get your voice back to it. Brock, you ready for Never Tell Me the Odds?
I'm always ready for never tell me the odds, James.
What are the odds we make it to 152?
0. It's Never Tell Me the Odds, brought to us by Patreon.
Wow.
Yeah,
Our favorite people in the world. I love my Patreons more than I love my parents.
it's true. Your parents called me about that over Christmas.
I know. I don't talk to my parents. I only talk to Patreons.
It's so true. Who are they?
Get on the list. No. Yeah, we really appreciate all the people that support us, and they, on a weekly basis, bring us Never Tell Me the Odds. And here they are. Executive producer Heidi Fetter. We have to exclusively call her that. Barry Brophy, Dennis Allen, Christine Allison, Mary Kristen Athen, Jeff Wilson, Aaron Quinton, Al Schuler, Phil Staniforth, Austin Schur, Scott D, Andy Higgins,
Mason Hope, Matt W, Rez Rural, Farm Boy, Frank Perkins, Sooner Thrawn, Neil Lowry, D, Raven Spencer, Matt Dallas, DJ Blake, Gleek Play 1, Janet Rubio, Charlotte, Kayla Davis, Girls with Sabers, and the Denim Nerds.
Oh, we almost forgot one person. I should have said it. Josh Price. So Josh, I'm sorry.
You pass over Josh, or was that me?
Yeah, I stopped at Andy Higgins. I think I usually stop at Josh Price. That is my fault.
Shout out Josh as well. He's a Patreon on my author page as well. So shout him out.
Wow.
Double shout out. I was writing the other day. It was a lot of fun going back and writing. There was a glaring miscalculation in the book that I'm working on. It was glaring, and I missed it, and several other people missed it, and the editor was like, "This is glaring," and I said, "Wow, that's big."
You're doing your job.
Thank you. Anyway, this is our Never Tell Me the Odds, our 150th episode. Well, I don't know how many. I don't think we started. Did we do this right from the beginning? Never Tell Me the Odds? We did top 5. I don't know if odds were right away, if they came later on, but whatever. We've done a lot of them. We're going to have 4 odds today, and our final odd will come from a Patreon question. So here we go. Odds of the new series focusing on Sith Rule of 2. We kind of talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the show. With a new series, the High Republic series, focus on the Sith and their Rule of 2, Brock.
I want to say yes, because that's all you and I, James, know lots of stuff about the Sith. But I think that the average viewer, I was going to say reader, viewer, doesn't really know much about the Sith besides they're evil. So the Rule of 2, let's hammer it in there so we can kind of maybe see an origin. I'm going to go 80%.
Nice. I think I'm going to go full Brock. Now watch, like the day before this goes up, they'll announce the new saga about the Rule of 2. But I'm going to go full Brock because I think it would be a lot of cool, but I also think that they might not want to dwell on that, and it might be about something else. So I am torn on it because I think it's really cool, and I think the Rule of 2 is something that they mention it in Phantom Menace, and it's never really, and theatrically, you don't learn too much about it. And like you said, there's a lot of other dark side users. What separates them from Sith? And that's something I think would be great to be explored, but I'm going to go for Brock. Our next odd, the odds of Yoda being a main character in this new High Republic series, if that's what it is, or any new series.
I'm concerned that we might start overdoing it on Yoda, though prior to the revolution that is Baby Yoda, I think a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, there was a lot of pictures of a young Padawan Yoda sort of with hair and stuff, and I was like, yes, make that. So I'm going to stick to those guns. I want to say 90% it's going to be, especially with Baby Yoda being so popular. It just makes total sense to throw a Yoda, the Yoda character, or maybe not even Yoda specifically. Give us another Yoda.
If we learn,
give us
like Baby Yoda, Jon Favreau had to go out and explain that he's not actually Yoda because this takes place after Yoda dies. But yeah, another Yoda species. But how much do we want to know about that species? We're obviously going to learn. I think what the Mandalorian was able to accomplish this year was giving us another Yoda species, making it a main focus, but not giving us any information on this species at all. So I'm I'm torn on whether or not I even want Yoda in this. I do love Yoda. I wouldn't mind seeing more Yoda. If it's 400 years, he's got to be there. If it's about Jedi, but I don't think I want him to be a lead. If he was young, and we kind of figure if we were learning about why he gets so wise, sure. But I'm gonna go 80%. I have to go high. I think they're milking Yoda. They've seen it. They want it. They're gonna do it. They know that Yoda brings in the money. He doesn't show up till he's in the second movie, not even the first Star Wars movie ever. And he's like the most iconic thing in Star Wars. He's like one of the top, he's top 5 for sure icons of Star Wars, right? It's like, how do you not include him, especially if you're moving away from this thing called the Skywalker saga? And our next odd, the odds of the prophecy of the Chosen One being mentioned in this new series.
I think fairly high. Master and Apprentice really focused on like Qui-Gon researching it, so I can't remember when the stuff he's reading, if that occurs in this sort of time period, but it would be cool for maybe not the main plot, but like maybe like a subplot at some point. Like it would be cool if they're like, maybe this person's the Chosen One. Like, wouldn't that be kind of interesting? Like the Chosen One's like, or what? Like, I would love them to just sort of. It's almost like the trade deals of Phantom Menace. Or like we're talking about Trade Federation. It's like, wouldn't it be just awesome? Just like, here's a Jedi philosopher. It's like, well, you see, it's like a master class in like Jedi mysticism. I would love that. People would hate it, but I would love it. I'd be like, oh yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I know.
the joke. What is the Force? So I'm gonna say 75%. I think it's a pretty high. I think these are all things that definitely can exist in
It could
this possible
easily
series.
exist. It's just whether or not
Yeah.
Lucasfilm wants them to be revisited. Because
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
look, The Force Awakens. It seemed like, and it's still going on. I still feel like there's a little trepidation on their part to really fully embrace the prequels. And look, you can mention Gungans in The Mandalorian. You can have old Jar Jar in the Obi-Wan series, but in a theatrical release, I'm not sure they are ready to fully embrace the prequels. And they had some minor nods in Solo and Rogue One to the prequel era. So I don't know. And The Chosen One is such a hot topic. But I think that would be a hashtag missed opportunity, I think, if they don't mention it. But I also said that about Maz being in Solo, and that was way off. So I'm going to go 67% on that one as well. And now our final lot today comes from one of our Patreon supporters. His name is Jeff, and Jeff is at a convention with his friend. Let's go over to him and see what his odd is today.
Hello, rebel scumbags out there on the internets. We are coming to you live from the Greater Columbus Convention Center in beautiful Columbus, Ohio. Live from OhioCon 2020. I'm here with my best friend Justice. This is Jeff Wilson. I'd love to give you an odd. I'm going to give him an odd as well and get his answer, but I'd love to hear your response. Happy 150th episode. That is a huge milestone. You guys have been a big part of my life the past year and a half or so. I love listening to you guys every day, so I feel very blessed to be able to send this video to you. So, my odd for you is, what are the odds that Boba Fett will return in The Mandalorian Season 2? Justice, what are your thoughts?
I honestly feel like they started off with the idea that they would bring a character back just in case it didn't go so well viewership-wise. But since it has become one of the most talked about things on the internet, whether it be memes or just the series in itself, I feel like they don't need to bring the character back, so they'll keep the character in and of itself the most prized possession of the series.
All right, very thought out answer. What are the odds that they bring him back?
36%, if that.
36%. That is a very precise answer. I'm going to say, since the success of the first season, and they're filming the second season now, as we know, I'm going to say 2% that Boba Fett returns in Mandalorian Season 2. And like I said, I think the first season was very successful, and the second season will not have as much familiar characters. We'll get a lot of new content, a lot of new things we've never seen before. So, those are our thoughts. Your odds.
Thanks, Jeff and Justice. Great odd. Mandalorian sweeping the nation. Actually, Jeff, his first appearance on here was at Star Wars Celebration Chicago with Andrew, and they did a vote at a Never Tell Me the Odds on the Mandalorian that day. So it's nice that his odd comes full circle now, and he asked us about the Mandalorian. Boba Fett appearing in the second season. Brock, we're on Tatooine. We see that caped figure go up to the, what, I can't remember her name, the bounty hunter, the assassin.
Oh,
Ming-Na. Yeah, Ming-Na, but what's her name in the Phelan Krusk or something?
Killing McKillface.
They goes up to her body, and never seen or heard from again. This character. People have speculated that it is Boba Fett. What are the odds? Boba Fett, Season 2 of The Mandalorian.
I don't know. I've said this before. I feel like Boba Fett is something you just keep in your back pocket if you run out of ideas. But now, having watched the full season of The Mandalorian, there's just so much they still can cover that I don't think they need it. I would love just even the mention of Boba Fett. I don't know. I can't see it happening in season 2, so I'm gonna go 30%.
I have to go low as well. I'm with you on this one. I think you keep Boba in the back pocket. I hear our good friend, Patreon subscriber, and live chat enthusiast, rural farm boy right now. Boba Fett's dead. He's dead. I can see him. He's typing it right now. He's left the show. He's like, no, he's dead.
You can just stay dead.
Yeah,
but
I want him to stay dead because, when Palpatine was revealed to be back, Andrew brought up the good point. It's like, sometimes, just leave dead. And I think Palpatine coming back makes sense because of the nature of the Skywalker saga. But I don't want it to be die. When you're dead, just stay dead. We need some weight in this saga. So I'm gonna go 27%. A mention, sure. A flashback, sure. But anything post Return of the Jedi, I really kind of am just fine with him being dead and gone. I mean, we may be proven wrong. I don't know.
A question like that makes me want to rewatch all the Mandalorian episodes of Clone Wars. Just there's so much in that world that's just unknown, but then also it's just like there's so much. It's elaborate too, to the point that I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I know
that has nothing to do with it, but
I try to get like people who like the Mandalorian to watch the Clone Wars, and a lot of them just are like, no, I just don't want to do it. And it's the animation versus live action thing that goes on, and it is what it is. And I mean, they're missing out, sure, but they're not. They don't feel like they are. So I think a lot of people, the diehards, like, well, but nobody knows what the dark saber is, but nobody cares. Like, and I don't mean nobody cares. I mean they care, but they care in a way like we're gonna find out next season. Care, right? Like that's how it is. And I think when we're so invested in it, we know what it is, right? But how are they gonna understand? It's like, well, they see it on a completely different level than we do. It doesn't bother them. They look at it like, oh, we're fine. We'll find out later how that happened. We'll give it up. But those are never tell me the odds. Thank you to all of our Patreon. Means a lot to us. But this week's our 150th episode, and right now, Brock, we're going to go somewhere really cool. We haven't done this on a show yet. We are going to have a debate.
Oh, what?
Are you ready for vote of no confidence? Let's get to it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Oh, it's vote of no confidence. We've never done this as part of the show before. This is part of it. We've got two special guests. Both of them are not in the same room as us, obviously. We've got Dan and Phil coming to us from opposite ends of the world even. This is how much fun it's going to be. We're going to have a great time. How you guys doing?
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. Cold, but awesome.
I like that you both knew to take a moment and wait for someone to respond and talk over each other. You guys are
very, very un-American of me. I know.
So today's vote of no confidence is Ben Solo versus Anakin Skywalker, the first Skywalker male that we know of versus the final Skywalker. So it's going to be a lot of fun. A coin was flipped earlier. Den, who were you selected to defend?
You assigned me to Anakin Skywalker.
And Phil, that would leave you with?
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren. Ooh. So before we get into it, Brock, who's your favorite? Because I want the biases out right away so they know where we're coming from when we won't decide. We'll leave it to the audience to decide. But Brock, who's your favorite before you hear their argument?
What were the options again?
Anakin and Ben Solo.
Anakin and
Shmi
and Dexter Jackson.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Oh man, I'm conflicted because you spend a lot of time with Anakin. I'm gonna go Kylo Ren because throw away the past, destroy it. Yeah.
All right. Well, until this one started, I'm an Anakin guy. I do have this light up Funko Pop, Brock, that I bought. Oh. I haven't opened it because I'm worried I broke it. So I've broken a lot of Funko Pops. my R2D2 with antlers only has one antler right now. Let's just put it that way. All right, so let's get started. We want to hear your arguments for Ben and Kylo Ren. I did flip a coin earlier in the day. I should do another one though to make it legit. I don't have a coin, so Den, you've got Anakin. Why don't you start us off?
All right. So I have jokingly stated prior to recording this that I have a 5-point thesis for why Anakin is superior to Ben Solo. But when you take away the fact that Sand is objectively evil, and you take away the fact that the prequels are pure meme generators, you're left with like 2 really strong points. And I think I can maybe pull this out to maybe 3 good points. The first one I want to go with is simply Anakin is the chosen one. No one else in the Star Wars universe, except for maybe Luke, which that was a Rebels case, has been given this title of the chosen one. So like Anakin is like the pinnacle of Jedi. He is the pinnacle of Force user. And that's kind of like my first case.
All right. Phil, what's your first for Ben Solo, a.k.a. Kylo Ren, a.k.a. The Last Skywalker?
Okay, well, I similarly have a 3-point plan going into this. The first one is that I believe he had to deal with and overcome, Kylo Ren had to deal with and overcome bigger obstacles in his life and faced and defeated stronger demons to gain his redemption. I'll go into a bit more detail if you want me to.
Sure.
I've written some notes, so let's start with childhood. So, admittedly, Anakin and his mother were slaves. They seemed to live a fairly happy life on Tatooine. His youth was mostly spent fixing droids, pod racing with his friends, and occasionally making tea for Watto. It sounds like a pretty good deal to me. On the flip side, Kylo Ren was raised by a deadbeat dad who was often away on spice smuggling trips with his friends, and a princess who was bogged down in politics for the most of the day and never had time to tuck him into bed or read him a story. These things maybe sound a little bit trivial, but they can mean a lot to a sensitive child on Coruscant, or wherever he grew up, I can't remember. Obviously, Anakin had his troubles with Padme. He wanted to save her, but was she ever in that much trouble? They were, after all, just bad dreams he was having. Kylo, on the other hand, was sent away to live with his crazy uncle, who used to creep into his room at night, use the Force to watch and monitor his deepest inner emotions, and ignite his lightsaber if he didn't like what he saw. Putting myself in his position, I'd also be pretty angry, I think. And I'd probably want out of that situation as soon as possible. So after all he went through, he was still able to find affection for Rey and tried his best to form new relationships.
All right.
That is my point number 1.
All right, point number 1. Den, rebuttal. You got to win this for Anakin.
You know, you bring up a good point. Like, Anakin, while he did spend like the first 9 years of his life being a piece of human property, and Kylo just grew up in palaces and political sanctuaries.
Alone.
I think that, you know, Anakin had one thing on his resume that Kylo Ren could never have. Anakin is a god killer. Anakin killed the Sun, one of the ones. Kylo Ren will never, ever, Ben Solo will never, ever have something to that pinnacle in his favor.
That's a deep.
That's like the Mortis maneuver. It's like boom. Oh, I forgot about that. Wow. Very nice. Very nice.
Jeez, he just like went for the jugular on that one. Phil?
Number 2, he was mentally a stronger character. I would. What have I written here? I can't remember. Okay, here we go. Darth Sidious was easily able to convince Anakin to turn to the dark side. All it took was a few stern words at the space opera and a couple of few gentle nudges in the right direction, and Anakin was soon down on one knee, declaring his allegiance to the dark side. Kylo not only resisted the mind tricks from Snoke, or Palpatine, whatever, and hid his intentions to kill him in the throne room, and then ultimately did kill him, and he didn't even see it coming. So, I mean, you know. There was never a sense that Palpatine would recruit him or take him as a Sith apprentice. I think because Kylo was so mentally strong, he would have rejected any such approach. He simply wanted to use Palpatine for his armada of Star Wars destroyers, and that is badass.
All right. This is a tough one. Dan?
Actually, I have to concede that point. Like, I wholeheartedly agree Ben Solo is more mature and stronger mentally than Anakin was. But I think Kylo was also raised by a better quality of Jedi than Anakin was. But that being said, Anakin could never kill a member of his own family. Kylo Ren / Ben Solo had no problem, playing kebab with Han Solo's heart. So, I think the quality of person is slightly in the advantage of Anakin. And, like, Kylo Ren turned to the dark side because, of his family's legacy and who his family was. Anakin turned to the dark side because he didn't want to lose who his family was. And I do concede that Anakin was always half dark side, but that's kind of the burden you play when you're the chosen one. You have to be both. Kylo Ren did not have to walk the path that Anakin walked because he wasn't the chosen one.
Really? Chosen one. Chosen one. Ben Solo, the dead one. Maybe not dead. I don't want to get into that argument. Phil?
Well, I've kind of disagreed with that point. By number 3 was, I wrote, he has a stronger moral compass. I think he's more moral than Anakin. And here's why. Although Kylo did commit one of the biggest crimes in the Star Wars timeline by killing Han Solo, his morals and integrity are far stronger than the deranged psychopath Anakin Skywalker. Kylo always thought that he was doing the right thing. He had many opportunities to kill Rey in the interrogation chamber in The Force Awakens, in the throne room in The Last Jedi, and on Pasaana in The Rise of Skywalker. Or attack her, I guess. But he didn't. He walked away for some reason that we don't really know about. Anakin, on the other hand, went out of his way to kill scores of innocent younglings, slaughter a village of misunderstood Tusken Raiders, and worst of all, turned his back on his wife and unborn children, his best friend and master, and the entire Jedi Order. And that is why Kylo Ren is better.
Well, Anakin's better because he was the first one to kill the Emperor.
Ooh.
And he was the first one to bring balance to the Force. Now, you could argue that his impact was not long-lasting, but he did those things nonetheless. And to your point, Phil, he did not commit patricide. So I still think that is a moral point for him. Like, yeah, he could kill a room full of children he doesn't really feel that close to. Yeah, he could be responsible for wiping out numerous cultures and societies of peoples. Kylo Ren kind of did turn a blind eye to, Starkiller Base blowing up the entire New Republic. So, I think moral compass-wise, they are equals. And I think Kylo did that on purpose. Like, Kylo wanted to prove he was a moral equal to Vader. That was the point of him turning a blind eye. So I think, like, morality-wise, like, I think Anakin gets the edge simply because he did not kill people in his family.
Okay. Did he not kill Padme?
No, I to this day, I truly believe the Emperor killed her.
Okay.
I think that was a manipulation of Sidious.
A broken heart killed Padme.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
But I like not to interject there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's quite good, isn't it? I don't know. It's a difficult one, really. It's a very difficult one.
Let's get a closing thought. Let's get your closing thought, Phil, and then you can, and then we'll leave it up for everybody to decide in the comments and the chat. But Brock and I will have the real decision.
Is there a winner?
No, but there will be a winner, but we won't know today. We will leave it up for everybody watching to leave the comments and let us know. But Brock and I will have influence on that, and we'll announce it next week on it. How's that? Like they didn't have that plan. All right, Phil. Final thought.
So final thought. I'm just going to go over the 3 points that I initially made. 3 main reasons why I believe Kylo Ren is better than Anakin. 1, he had to deal with bigger obstacles in his upbringing and in his life, and overcame and defeated stronger demons to gain his redemption. Number 2, he was a stronger character. I believe he was mentally stronger. And number 3, he has a stronger moral compass, in my opinion. Yeah.
And Dan?
My 3 points are that he was the first to bring balance to the galaxy by killing Palpatine. He was the chosen one, and Anakin is a god killer. No one else in the Star Wars universe can say that.
That's really a really good points from both of you. I won't let my influence decide anything. Let us know in the comments below and in the chat who you think won this one. Brock, right away, your first impressions. Are you still on the Kylo Ren side of things?
I really am conflicted now. Both you gentlemen really brought an academic spin to this, and it's, I don't think I've ever really compared Kylo or Ben to Anakin, so it's just like, yeah, like that road to redemption. Oh, I guess we do that because they're the villain and we have to redeem them because that's what happens in the first one. But yeah, I don't think I've really put them together, and it's just like, which one is like, is it because he's first and the chosen one, or is it because he's able to come back from the dark side to the light side? Oh man, you've really enriched my lives, the both of you.
Those are great points.
I don't know which side to take. I will say, I think the Mortis Anakin thing, that's why I interjected there. It's like, oh, that's like, you can't like really come back from that. It's like, he killed a god. Yeah, so I can't choose a side because you're both staring at me and making me off.
I can't see either one of them right now, which is working in my favor. I'm not going to choose one either. There were great points on both sides. I was team Anakin going into this, and now I'm team, I don't know. I'm team conflicted there. We will announce the winner on next week's episode 151, and we'll send you guys something for being on this as well. Thank you guys for debating with us on Vote of No Confidence during our 150th episode of the Rebel Scum podcast.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, awesome.
No, thank you.
Hollow news, da 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 da. Hollow news, da 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 news. Take it, Brock. 100.
Today in Hollow News, ever heard of TikTok? Well, if you're a millennial, probably yes, but Star Wars has done some cool stuff, or not Star Wars, but Star Wars fans have been doing some cool stuff on TikTok where they have been starting a movement that like they changed the avatar for TikTok users to that of their favorite Star Wars Lego character. It has taken over in the last few weeks that with the hashtag LSW, meaning Lego Star Wars, with 900 million views as of Thursday afternoon. Usually with playing some kind of video to the Cantina Band music, which is interesting. It's not a political statement. The only thing is they just really love the Lego Star Wars. Apparently, a article in the New York Times did a article called "The Hype House: A Spanish-style mansion in a gated Los Angeles neighborhood filled with TikTok stars." Part of the Lego Star Wars movement started as a satirical, tongue-in-cheek response to the sudden national recognition of class differences between TikTok users. A small petition even circulated to say that the Lego Star Wars community was sick of being unappreciated and overlooked by the Hype House, and users asked others to join the resistance. When asked, a expert in sort of this category of news said that the Lego Star is such a potent meme, particularly on overcrowded platforms for the use such as Instagram and TikTok, that it's just an awesome game, and that's it. There's nothing else. They're just doing it for funsies. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Jessica Henwick, known from Iron Fist and Game of Thrones, who also played Jessica Pava in The Force Awakens, originally was in the race to become Rey in Force Awakens. She said that there was a 6-month process for auditioning, and at the end she said she'd made such enough influence on or effect on JJ that's why he created a character specifically for her, and that is why the character's name is Jess Pava. You know her as the X-Wing pilot from Blue Squadron in Force Awakens. She was disappointed after 6 months of not getting that role, but to know that she was at least kept in the movie, that's not too bad. And in the final news, it was announced earlier this week that Billie Lourd stood in for her mother as Princess Leia in The Rise of Skywalker. She used the body double for young Leia in the flashback to the training scene between Luke and Leia. Of course, her mother's face was CG put in on top of her face, so that was Billie Lourd in that scene alone. So it's really neat. Mark Hamill was himself, but younger, de-aged, as they say. It was, and the editor said it was an emotional thing for everyone to see her in that position. It felt great for us too. If you're going to have someone play Carrie's part, it's better that it's Billie, because there's a lot of similarities between them when they were able to draw from. The real challenge was just making Leia footage we had to work with fit in the scene. And co-writer Chris Terrio has said that the face used in that scene were straight from Return of the Jedi. And this has been your Hollow News.
Top 5. Top five. And today's top 5. Oh, we have a special guest on our top 5.
Yeah.
Hold on. I have to get rid of this graphic that's covering our faces. And once I do that... Oh, I found it. Okay, here we are. We're here. We're back on this camera. Top 5 right here. We have a special guest. You want to introduce yourself to the galaxy?
Hello, galaxy. My name is Mary Athon, and I'm happy to be here and happy to talk about Star Wars always.
Thank you.
Finally, the truth comes out. We've been mispronouncing your last name the whole time.
Yeah, it's true. We don't like to admit it, but we do. I think we mispronounce 90% of people's names. Like, it's not Smith, it's Smith. Oh, we're pretty bad at it. Today, you're joining us for we've done 150 top 5, Brock. How have we ever thought of that many top 5s? I'm pretty sure we repeated them multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
Today's, though, we had to get a guest on because it is an iconic one. Top 5 moments from the Skywalker saga, episode 1 to episode 9. And this is unbelievably the hardest top 5 we've ever done. Even harder than I think our third or fourth one where we did top 5 Jar Jar moments, Brock. this one was way harder than that one. So I guess I gotta say right off the bat, I told you guys earlier, I don't have Praetorian Guards on my list because I went for more emotional scenes. Even though I guess that one, it's kind of the first time they really connect. Anyway, it's my favorite, but it's not on my list of favorites. So it'll be good. Anything, Mary, that you have that you didn't put on that you're like, oh, that one should have been on, but it's not.
I don't have the Praetorian Guards, and then I just thought of one that I'm like, I should have.
Welcome to top 5. Like, oh.
And I think that I'm actually going to. Well, okay, I'll just say it. It's in episode 6 where Luke is on Tatooine with the whole crew, and he puts his lightsaber in R2-D2, and he's like on the plank about to jump into the digest for a million years, whatever. And then he like gives R2 the signal, and he spits out the lightsaber. And it's awesome. And no one thought that was going to happen. It's like, where's his lightsaber? And no one even knew that he was going to have one. And then it's green because he had to make a new one. Oh, it's just awesome. Really, really, really good stuff.
It's like those memes on Instagram where it's like they're like, all you had to do was say this, and then it's the end of the movie. So it's like I'll help you. I'm Emperor Palpatine talking. Anakin is like, I'll help you. It's like, no, he's a evil Sith. Don't trust him. And it's just roll credits, like written and directed by. It's like it'd be like R2 shooting out the lightsaber, but it goes too far and it misses. Is like written and directed. You're like, oh.
That is one of my favorite moments that did not make my list either. We'll have to. I lost your video again because shocker, I lose.
He lives in the woods, ladies and gentlemen. That'll be a shirt. James
definitely will.
In the
hopefully, hopefully your video comes back. Subway, let's go right into the top 5 now. Brock, why don't you kick things off with your top 5 moment from the Skywalker saga, which I'm sure tomorrow you'll be like, oh, I should have had this.
My number 5 is going to be Duel of the Fates because it is an exciting lightsaber battle, arguably probably one of the best because it's sort of like, hey, we could think up choreography for this. And it gave us the wonderment that is Ray Park. Great music, great everything. Just so good. And it doesn't include any of our original cast. Well, no, that's not true. Anyways, go on.
my number 5 is the moment of Obi-Wan Kenobi's death on the Death Star. That was like, I don't know, when you're a kid watching it's like, it's still emotional. Luke's reaction, no, like that slow-mo, and then they're shooting, but they gotta leave, so there's no time to mourn on it. But the fact that he just holds up his lightsaber and lets Vader strike him down is just such a great Star Wars moment. And I mean, everybody knows it. There's that meme where the dirty clothes on the ground, the husband's like, the wife's like, why is there a dirty pile of clothes? I killed a Jedi. It's like, I hate you. That's my life. But that's my number 5. It's such an iconic moment. I absolutely love it. Mary, what's your number 5?
So it's actually Duel of the Fates too. It's where they're in the lobby, and all of a sudden the song comes on, and then the double doors open, and Mace Windu, and they're in the lobby, and opens with Darth Maul standing there, and he like extends the lightsaber. It goes out both sides. You're like, never seen a double lightsaber before. This is awesome. And then the music starts going. Padme's like, we'll go the long way around. It's just great. It's a good scene. It saved that movie too. I like the movie.
It's a good connection. Like that Duel of Fates and then the death of Obi-Wan are good to be put together in this top 5 because it's sort of like the first lightsaber battle to like one of the most advanced ones where like McKenna's got the cable coming out of his and they're just like whacking sticks, but then you like this one you got like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon like choreography. So that was a fun choice for number 5.
That's one of my favorite moments.
James, you want to do number?
Yeah, that didn't not make my list because my list is apparently terrible.
Wow.
Yeah. My number 4 is Empire Strikes Back. Yoda lifting the X-wing.
Yeah.
So good, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a great moment, and it really kind of tells you everything you need to know about the Force. It doesn't matter how big you are; it's all about focus. Brock.
My number 4 is gonna go back to the prequels. the Darth Sidious Yoda lightsaber battle, just to be like, oh, this is everything we dreamed about. And I like that it's a showdown between these two, because I've always kind of seen them as like foils of each other. If like Luke and Vader foil are sort of that idea as well, but like I like to know if like Yoda knew. I like to think that deep down he's like, this is all going to happen because it has to happen or whatever. So, but just seeing Yoda go all out with the lightsaber is just wild.
Yeah, you mentioned that before, that you thought Yoda kind of knew it was going down.
Yeah.
Mary,
what's your number 4?
So actually, I almost picked the Yoda X-wing, and then I have, the Luke X-wing from episode 9. Really good stuff. But my number 4 is it's episode 2, Attack the Clones, and it's kind of like a cheesy scene, but I think it's just so cool. It's the Coliseum, and then all of a sudden, all the Jedi show up, and Mace Windu pulls out the lightsaber in front of Count Dooku and says, "This party's over."
Great moment, absolutely. And you know, if Andrew was on this, he would have that in his top 5 for sure. I think, and that's why he's not on that.
Your top 5s have some like funny joke included in it, like, which works for my number 3, because I was like, I have to put him in there. Babu Frick in Attack of the Skywalkers. No, Rise of the Skywalkers, but specifically when he's like, I am Babu Frick. Like, I was thinking about this week. I think episode 9 is the funniest Star Wars.
Yeah. Just
for like a lot of things, but because I think originally I thought this was a Rise of Skywalker moment, and it was just going to be jokes. It's like Runner, Spice Runner. BPO
that was. It was the funniest, but it was also the darkest in some ways.
Yeah, the CVP stuff got pretty dark.
The Rise of Skywalker, right?
Oh yeah.
How did they do that?
I think that's why it needed to be funny.
BPO did a dark joke. What? He got a little blue, then a little gold.
Opened up really dark too. Kylo Ren killing people.
Nice, yeah.
And then
it is. Oh god, Exegol. That's like, I think they should have a haunted house themed with Exegol, where it's just like you're in the dark, and then there's like dead guys are like
Palpatine is just being lowered from the ceiling.
I would still hard pass on the haunted house. My number 3 is Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones discovering the clone army. Clone army. Yeah. That's a pivotal point in Star Wars. I mean, there's an entire TV series based around the aftermath of that event, and really everything that follows is because of this clone army. So that's my number 3. And I love Kamino also. Mary, number 3?
Okay, so my number 3 is at the end of episode 4, where Han Solo swoops in and saves the day. And then where Obi-Wan says, "The Force will be with you always." It's just really magical. It's really good.
It's not that funny though, but yeah.
I almost chose another funny one, but I could go back and forth.
That did not make my list, but it's a fantastic moment. Brock, number 2?
Spoiler, it's on my list as well.
Is it number 1 on your list? All right, number 2, bro. Okay, I'll go. My number 2 is from the Revenge of the Sith motion picture, when the Vader mask is coming down on Anakin's head, and then it clicks in, and there's that moment of silence, and then that was one of my favorite moments. I mean, I didn't get to see the original trilogy when they first came out, but the 6 that I have, or the 6, 8, 9, however many I've seen in the theater that weren't the original 3, that is the one moment when maybe the holdo maneuver, but the whole theater is just kind of like in awe for a moment. And we all know, like, it's not like it's a surprise. Like, we're all like, it's Vader. And then it comes down, but then as soon as that you hear the breathing, it's like, oh yeah, Star Wars. Like, whatever came before, nothing mattered. It didn't matter how much people hated the prequels. Didn't matter anything. Vader's here. That one click, I love that moment. Brock, you're number 2.
My number 2 is gonna have to go Return of the Jedi, my favorite Star Wars movie. I just want to say Ewoks, but that's kind of vague. I think I like the part where they're going like I want to say the Battle of Endor, but again, that's not really a scene or a moment. I like the fact that they're like about to get to the shield battery, and they're like, "Oh, we can't do this." And it's like, "Oh, I'm afraid one of them just went over there." He's like, "What?" So it's like the fact that they're even able to like succeed in that battle with like, "Oh yeah, we just ran off and stole a scout bike." Like, what? I just love
It's
that.
so good.
And, you know,
The
great.
fact that they make C-3PO their
Their god.
God, that was almost number 2. I was like, yeah, that was pretty sweet.
You should have said your number 2 should have been Ewoks in The Rise of Skywalker. That should have been it. Mary, what's your number 2?
Okay, so my number 2 is episode 8, where they're on Crate, and Luke is like whatever projecting himself. Kylo Ren's there. He like tries to stick the lightsaber, and Luke he like finally realizes Luke's not really there, and then Luke just goes, "See you around, kid," and vanishes. And the music and just it's it's so cool.
I forgot about that. That whole like crate is just like a piece of art. We're like, why is there red? Is that blood? It's like, no, that's just like the salt underneath.
Yeah.
Though that guy who tasted that salt, though, he didn't know it was salt. That guy is
Salt.
Yeah, you just put it in your mouth.
What is this? I'm gonna try it. Nope, salt. Don't eat the ground, guys. Don't eat the ground. We're on number 1 now. I'll go first because it is the only true number 1 of the entire Skywalker saga. It is the number 1 of Star Wars as a whole, and if you disagree, your list is wrong. And that is, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. Because, I mean, that sets everything in motion. I mean, it doesn't now that there's prequels, but at the time, it set everything in motion. And it's such an iconic scene, and it calls back, even when you have the prequels, it calls back to this Obi-Wan character that you watched for 3 movies, who lost his best friend to the dark side, and now all of a sudden we need to get him back because he's the last hope of it all. Until Rey is the last hope. But there you go. Brock, you're number 1.
My number 1, it's already been said, Trench Run. It's just a classic moment. It's, you know, everything looks like it's gonna fail, and all of a sudden you see Han Solo come back, and you're like, wow. Someone pointed out that like that's his best moment because he comes back, he doesn't need to, and that's why the fact that Leia is holding his medal in Rise of Skywalker is huge, because that was the moment, like that's like the biggest moment in their relationship probably, or in just Han Solo's life. So it's like that's why she's holding it when she passes away into the Force, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, it's great, and it's just cinematically what they accomplished with like models and stuff like that. It's just like, wow. So yeah, number 1 with the bullets.
It's insane. So good.
What's your number 1?
Yeah, Mary, take us home. Number 1.
All right, so my number 1 is at the end of episode 6, where Luke, he goes to confront Vader and the Emperor. The Emperor's trying to like bait him into killing him, and he goes for it. He swings, and then Vader puts his lightsaber in front of it. And so that scene, it's not just Vader. On the surface, it's like he's saving the Emperor, he's saving Palpatine, but it's really him saving Luke from going to the dark side.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Pretty
great.
If you really think
great
about
moment. Great saga as well.
Yeah.
I love Star Wars.
There's so many. Like I said, this was really hard to put together this stupid list. Like, I should have been top 100 moments from the Skywalker saga. Also, it's 9 movies. It's not like it's 2.5. You know, it's 9 movies where you have to pick moments from. But that's a great one. Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie, and I didn't even have 1 moment on my list from it. So what does that tell you about me?
I should have just done 5 moments from Solo.
That would have been the best.
Best people.
Everyone loves Solo.
What a fantastic top 5.
Top 5. Brock's joking. 150 we're allowed to. Mary, we lost your video. I lost your video for the last few because I live in the woods. We'll put a picture up for those ones. So I'm sorry. I'm trying to hold on until you come back, but it's my internet's like, yeah.
Ah.
I rebooted my router like we did it back in the dial-up days, and nothing's working. So I don't know. But 150 of these shows have come and gone now, and I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. Not really. It's Brock. Do you think we have another 150 in the bank ready to go? Do you think we'll be able to pull it off?
Yeah, because I don't think there's anyone really keeping track of how many top fives we do once over again, and they keep churning out Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it's like, you kind of worry when they're like, oh, we're not gonna have a movie for a couple years, and then they're like, High Republic, and here's a new timeline. I'm like, what? But then stuff like Rise of Kylo Ren issue 2, and you're like,
yeah,
wow. So yeah, what? I think I'm excited for the next 2 years, because if there's no movie to like make them stick to secrecy, it's like now we can get all the backstories that we've been wanting. It's like, what did Luke do? So yes.
Yeah, excited for Kenobi too.
Yes. I'm all in on Disney Plus. I don't know if I've ever said this on this channel.
Yeah.
I'm all like, I will watch whatever you got. So let's do it. Are you excited for Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
Until we get a trailer, right?
Wait, the trailer's out?
No, until we get a trailer. What? You heard it here first. There's a trailer.
With all the spin-off movies, I'm like, or like the spin-off stuff, I'm like, I don't know, like we'll see, like they're just trying to, and then I go and see it and I'm like, it's the best ever.
I think that's the thing, is eventually, and I think this is when Iger kind of figured it out. I think Kathleen Kennedy warned him with Solo. People are going to start to get tired of Star Wars. It's just going to happen. Like if you keep turning them out like twice a year, once every 6 months, people are going to be like, why am I going all the time? Even like I've said this, the Marvel movies, as big as they are, Ant-Man didn't make much more than Solo, right? Like, so you have to know your brand, know it. And I think Disney Plus is a good place to have those spin-off titles for sure. Because then, you watch them when you want. You don't have to. They're not, they're probably better than anything else we're going to watch, but they don't have to be. They just have to be fine.
Just sitting there waiting for you.
Exactly.
You need them.
Yeah. Except for Twitter ruining it at 6:30 in the morning the day it drops. Like, oh, come on.
It's really annoying.
It's very annoying. All right, that'll wrap us up here. 150 episodes, 150 top fives. Brock, anything you want to say as we say farewell?
I'm going to put my hands up in the air because I've been doing that a lot this episode. Thank you for everyone that listens. Thank you to our Patreons. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, James, for being a friend. Traveling down the road and back again. I love doing this podcast, and I hope for another 50. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a blast doing them, with hanging out with everybody, meeting people like Mary here and all that. And Mary, thank you so much for joining us today on the Top 5. It was awesome having you on. And you were in 2 roundtables as well that Andrew hosted, and he's not very good at it, but those were a lot of fun too. Yeah, they were fun. We'll have another roundtable to kind of relive those questions, so everyone can hear how wrong they were on what he asked, because that's the most fun of Star Wars, is getting predictions wrong and then being angry at the movie for it. Like, that's what I hate. But thank you again for being here. Thank everybody for watching, for listening, for subscribing. Don't forget to hit subscribe, I probably should have done this at the beginning. Ring the bell. Mary, thank you. And Brock, no, you were always scum.
Rebel scum.
Scum.
Leave that part in.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.